Welcome to The Explainer. So think for a second about your absolute favorite piece of clothing. It probably fits you like a glove, right? When you picture a tailor, you envision someone meticulously measuring, cutting, and stitching fabric to perfectly fit an individual's unique shape. A bespoke suit doesn't just look good, it actually empowers the person wearing it. Well, today, we're taking a close look at the bespoke tailors of the classroom, special educators. These dedicated pros don't work with fabric. They work with children's minds, carefully crafting an educational experience that perfectly fits a child's unique needs, challenges, and incredible potential.
Now check out this really powerful quote. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. This isn't just a catchy phrase, you guys. It is the fundamental, anchoring philosophy of special education worldwide. It requires a complete shift in perspective. Instead of demanding that a student just conform to a rigid pre-existing system, the system is actively molded to fit the student. It places the responsibility of accessibility squarely on the shoulders of the instructional design.
But, that brings us to a pretty massive practical question. How exactly do we teach the way they learn? It sounds wonderful in theory, sure, but what does that bespoke tailoring actually look like when the bell rings and class begins? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We're going to break down the actual mechanics of how these educators guide children with special needs to achieve their absolute highest potential.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, teaching how they learn. Second, tailoring the daily curriculum. Third, rethinking how we assess. Fourth, fostering holistic student development. And finally, a collaborative support system.
All right, let's jump straight into part one, teaching how they learn.
Look, every single student processes the world differently. That's true for all kids, but it requires some highly specialized attention for children with special needs. Traditional, one-size-fits-all instruction basically assumes every brain digests spoken lectures and written text at the exact same pace, which, honestly, can be incredibly frustrating. But special educators take a totally different path. They know some students absolutely need visual cues to anchor a concept, while others literally need to get out of their chairs and kinesthetically feel their way through a lesson by physically interacting with materials. Special educators actively build specific activities to target these diverse styles, making sure every single student has a pathway to understanding.
Which brings us to part two, tailoring the daily curriculum.
So how does understanding those learning styles translate into the everyday classroom environment? Because understanding it is really just step one. Applying it to the daily curriculum is where the heavy lifting happens. Imagine staring at a dense wall of standard text when your brain naturally struggles to decode letters. It's totally overwhelming. To combat this, special educators swap that wall of text out for graphic organizers and mind maps that visually connect ideas. They use really specific visual aids during presentations. It's all about creating a positive, welcoming environment where the curriculum itself isn't a barrier to entry.
So what does the teacher's prep work actually look like? Well, here are the exact steps an educator might take before a lesson even begins. Step 1. Pre-teaching key concepts or vocabulary so the student isn't hit with sudden surprises. Step 2. Physically modifying the materials, maybe just highlighting crucial text or bumping up the font size to make it visually accessible. Step 3. Breaking the lesson down into smaller, highly digestible chunks. Think of it like serving a meal. You wouldn't give a child an entire uncut steak, right? By editing the curriculum, the educator ensures they don't exceed the student's cognitive load, which is just the amount of new information their brain can process at one time without completely shutting down.
Moving on to part 3, rethinking how we assess. Okay. If we completely change how we teach a student, it makes absolutely zero sense to test them using old, rigid methods. Evaluation has to evolve too. Assessment is supposed to measure what a student actually knows. If a student has a learning disability that makes writing literally excruciating, a traditional written essay doesn't test their knowledge of the subject, it just tests their disability. Instead, a special educator will pivot, maybe allowing the student to give an oral presentation or build a cool multimedia project like a PowerPoint. This alternative approach maximizes the student's strengths and motivates them rather than constantly penalizing their weaknesses.
Next up, part 4, fostering holistic student development.
Education can't simply be about reading, writing, and computing. It has to encompass the whole human being. Special educators are massive champions of non-academic activities because they recognize the profound benefits they offer. Sports aren't just games, they're engineered lessons in leadership and teamwork. Music and dance directly enhance cognition. In fact, learning an instrument engages practically every area of the brain at once, which is amazing. Field trips build vital observational skills, connecting the physical and social world. Meditation is actively used in classrooms to combat the high stress and anxiety that often comes with learning challenges. And drama or role play, it's incredible for building social emotional skills, and practicing scripts actually improves reading fluency and intonation.
Which perfectly aligns with this incredibly powerful thought from Mahatma Gandhi. By education, I mean an all-round drawing out of the best in the child and man, body, mind, and spirit. Special educators absolutely embody this. They know that a student who struggles with math might be a wildly gifted artist or a brilliant public speaker. By nurturing the mind, body, and spirit, they help build real self-confidence. And sometimes, they even guide these discovered talents into lifelong interests or viable career prospects.
And finally, Part 5, a collaborative support system.
Here's the thing. A special educator does not operate in a vacuum. They're the central hub of a much larger wheel of support. If an educator notices a student is struggling with handwriting because they lack fine motor strength, they don't just tell the student to try harder. No way. They partner directly with an occupational therapist. If a student is exhibiting a speech disorder, they collaborate with a speech and language pathologist. It's this beautifully synchronized team effort designed to remove specific physical or developmental obstructions to the student's success.
And of course, the most critical partners in this collaborative network are the parents. Why does this matter so much? Because consistency is everything. Special educators view parents as vital stakeholders. They don't just send home grades at the end of the year. They maintain meticulous records of the support services used and provide detailed, ongoing progress reports. This ensures that the bespoke tailoring happening in the classroom is mirrored and supported right at home.
And we have to talk about the resilience of these educational teams. It's truly astounding. When the pandemic forced the world into remote learning, special educators adapted at lightning speed. Retaining the interest of students with special needs through a computer screen is immensely challenging, yet they employed new interactive educational technologies to maintain that exact same zeal, enthusiasm, and customized support online that they provided in the physical classroom.
So, as we've seen, special educators go so far beyond just teaching academics. They're advocates, collaborators, and literal tailors of the mind, preparing children not just to pass a test, but to become confident, productive members of society. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. In a world full of diverse, wonderfully unique minds, isn't every student deserving of an education tailored to exactly how they learn? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope you walk away with a much deeper appreciation for the incredible work happening in special education every single day.